joining me this evening on the couch is Professor Barry O'Sullivan from the Department of Computer Science in UCC. You're very welcome, Barry.
Thanks, Fiona, thank you.
Thank you very much for coming in.
My pleasure.
You're well used to Cork Airport.
Mm-hmm.
You do a good bit of travelling. You do a little bit of work with the UN, with artificial intelligence. Tell us a small bit about it.
Well, I suppose I do a lot of work on AI and policy, so things like AI for sustainable development, so doing everything from gender issues to global poverty to health. But also I'm very interested in the impact of AI on society, so things like bias and privacy and all these sorts of things.
Bias and privacy, it's an interesting one now, because you're also the director of the Insight Centre for Data Analytics in UCC as well.
Yeah, that's right.
So data analytics, like we hear all the time about like Google Analytics, that kind of thing. How much of what we're doing online is being watched and analysed?
Oh, that's easy. Everything. You know, everything.
There we go.
Yeah. So I suppose look, people leave a constant trace behind them all the time, even if you're not online, so to speak, but you're just carrying your phone in your pocket. And all this data has been gathered together and been used for all sorts of purposes, like recommending what you should do, what products you should consume, where you should go. But also it's used by all sorts of companies maybe to target you in a particular way. So maybe to, they know that you might vote in a particular way, or that that you have particular kinds of tastes, or even whether you're married, single, whether you're straight or gay. So it's kind of scary, right? What can be done is almost limitless. So we need to be aware of that, because I think we've been sharing an awful lot of data for an awful long time, and we haven't really been getting the benefits of it.
Technology has advanced an awful lot as well.
That
I heard recently that you don't even have to put a search into your phone anymore.
No.
That it's actually, excuse me, that it's actually like the likes of your voice activates a search on your phone.
Well, yeah, I suppose, yeah. So, well, first of all, you carry your phone around all the time, so it knows where you are, right? But also people use voice on their phones for Siri and Cortana and all these sorts of things. So they're little snippets of data that are stored for you. So I suppose it's important that people understand how that data is used, but it's also important for people to understand where the data that drives all of the AI systems that interact with comes from, and how biased it might be. So. And there's lots of different sources of bias, and it's very important to be aware of those. You
were telling me a story about a bot or an app.
Tay.
Yeah, tell me about Tay.
Yeah, so Tay was a chatbot that was produced by Microsoft, and it learned how to interact with people by interacting with them on Twitter. And so within 24 hours of, I suppose, observing people, it became a sort of a racist, nymphomaniac, offensive, right-wing sort of thing, right?
Are you serious?
And Microsoft had to take it down because it was just so offensive. And if you go online and have a look at this thing, they had to issue formal apologies, like to the world, for this thing that you're after creating. And
but that kind of implies that it was picking up loads of racist.
Yeah, that's because of bias,
sexist.
Right? Yeah, but like go onto YouTube and you'll find all these things, things in the comment box or Facebook. CNN posts something, and the wheels come off, right? So people don't interact with each other very, very politely. So if you
there's a lot of keyboard warriors out there.
A lot of keyboard warriors. Yeah. So this is a kind of bias we need to be very careful of. So if there's things that are learning how to interact with people by observing that kind of behaviour, it's not representative. So that's a biased source of information, and of course what you get at the other side is bias. I often call AI systems bias in, bias out.
What's the
so if the data is biased that they're trained on, then of course what you're going to get at the other end is very, very biased.
It's going to be biased as well.
Yeah,
like kind of like there's human error to it, really.
Yeah,
as well.
Yeah.
Like
so it magnifies how people interact with each other to some extent, right? So this is very important. There are lots of other examples. My favorite example is if you search for cute babies on Google, what you get are pages and pages of white babies. You don't tend to see any babies of that are non-Caucasians. For quite a long way down. And again, that's a source of bias, because people who share photographs of kids or the babies are, by and large white, because people who have access to the internet are by and large white. And so this is a kind of data bias. It's not because the world thinks that cute babies are only white, but it's the data that it has to go on is biased. So that's something we need to be very careful of.
That's very interesting.
And the whole privacy thing and everything is very key.
Now, you're also a very trendy professor as well.
I wouldn't have thought that. I wouldn't have thought that.
You were up at Electric Picnic.
Oh yeah, I was.
You were performing at Electric Picnic.
Well, performing in the sense that a professor performs, right? So
go on, tell us. You were up in the minefield.
Yeah, I was in minefield. Yeah, talking about avoiding artificial stupidity. So that was fun. We were talking about bias, like we were talking about just now, but also I suppose how AI is impacting our daily lives. So things like job replacement. Lots of AI systems now can replace people's jobs. They can replace people at certain jobs, and we need to be sort of worried about that. Not that robots coming over and taking over the world or anything, but we need to be sort of cognizant of the impact that's going to have on people's everyday lives.
We've already seen it, really.
We've already seen some of that to some extent. And I suppose just how people interact with each other, and privacy. Privacy is a very big thing. So people think that if they stay off social media, that they're in some sense protected, but that's not true. So so the talk at Minefield was all about avoiding what I call artificial stupidity. So when technology and AI goes wrong and does the wrong things for us. But of course, that's not to say that these things are bad. They're not.
Yeah.
But I think we need to be cognizant of the potential negative impacts and take those into account.
And is there any way of avoiding
information
being taken from us at all?
Well, kind of no, I suppose, is a short answer, because we've kind of bought into the whole data sharing world, right? So think of your smartphone. How many apps have you got an account on that's free? And so if the service is free, then the product isn't the app, the product is you and what you're doing and your data and everything else. So I don't think it's possible to opt out, because if imagine we're up some evening and someone takes a photograph of the two of us and you're not on social media, but I am. Of course, all of a sudden, Fiona, and Barry are out, so now they know about you to some extent, right? So you can't really avoid these things, but we just need to be careful about what it means for our daily lives, and particularly kids, because kids are sharing data in a way that is, can be, they don't really understand the consequences of that, and that's something I do actually worry about.
You have kids yourself.
Oh yeah. Look at kids.
And that's a big worry for anyone who has kids.
Yep.
That they get to teenage years, and bullying in school is a big problem.
Yeah, there's that, and there's I've been campaigning a bit for on the digital age of consent, which is this age at which kids have the power to consent for themselves online. And there's a new piece of legislation coming into Europe that defines that at 16, but member states can set that at an age as low as 13. And Ireland has recently decided, frankly without any evidence at all, that it should be 13. And so as of May of next year, any 13-year-old will have the legal power themselves to decide what they do online, and parents will not be able to parent them. And what's odd is that there's nothing else you can consent to when you're 13.
Yeah.
And so this disproportionate power, I think it's putting a lot of powerful technology in the hands of kids who might not necessarily be able to handle it.
So to conclude, is there any hope?
Oh, absolutely. No, so, we've talked about doom and gloom stuff, haven't we? No, absolutely. Look, the kinds of we're able to solve problems now that we could never solve before. Like if you think of health has become completely transformed with this sort of thing. All positive things. Certainly, people are connected far more than they used to be. So if you've got brothers and sisters, aunts and uncles, friends who move off to Australia, you can contact them and interact with them enormously. So
I suppose in conclusion,
there's massive things we can do. So it's not. I think the future is very, very bright. But it's worth just reflecting on some of the other issues.
I suppose in conclusion, throw caution to the wind. Join Facebook, join Twitter.
Absolutely, enjoy it. Absolutely enjoy it. Enjoy it, and enjoy technology responsibly.
Thank you very much, Barry.
Welcome.
I enjoyed our chat very much. And don't go anywhere, because Adele is next, and she's going to be talking to a lovely lady about wedding planning. Aisling.